Good morning, and let's see here. Let's let the notifications get out there. Hey, Massachusetts, and we'll let some people get on board here, and then we'll get officially going in terms of answering questions y'all might have. I'm good. Sound is good. Hey, Amsterdam, loud and clear. Excellent. Yeah, I got my little mic on here rather than just the camera mic, so that this will really pick up well. So I hope that's going well. Hey, Thomas in the UK. Dice, all good. Okay, good. Florida in the house. All right, good. So let's see here. Yeah, we got everything rolling. Good. About 35 people. Wow, this is great. All right, so I am just going to get going here. So this is 113 being live streamed here on YouTube, and I think I've sent out notifications on every social media site or whatever I could. So I hope folks are coming around and tuning into this. And hey, New York City. Hey, Columbia. Wow, Washington. Oh my goodness, Alabama. Awesome. So this is the show where I answer your questions, usually based on what you've left for me in the comments section of my Q&A videos or have sent to me by email at askchrisshelton@gmail.com. But this time, since we're doing this live, I'm going to answer any questions that y'all throw at me live. Now, of course, I'm sure I won't be able to answer every question that comes at me, but I will do my best to give complete and full answers on what you do throw at me. So let's go ahead and get started and see what we can come up with. Tell us your best dad joke. No, I'm really bad at dad jokes. Southeast Pennsylvania, Connecticut, Ontario, Canada. Hey, Alex, Barcelona. All right. Have I seen Stalker by Tarkovsky? When do you come to Spain to hang out? Okay, no, I have not seen that movie. And I would love to come to Europe at some point to hang out. I've got a whole little destination list, actually, of places to go. And Europe is second on that list after Australia. Let's see here. Hey, Belgium. Yes, let's get Gemma and John around. That would be fun. Thanks, Betsy. Hey, Las Vegas. Yes. Oh, by the way, yeah, just a couple announcements here is next week is HowdyCon. And so I will be doing first time I'm doing a live stream of my Sensibly Speaking podcast. That'll be next Saturday. And then, yeah, maybe I'll see about having Aaron. Maybe Aaron and I can do a live Q&A on Sunday. That would be kind of cool. I hadn't thought about doing that, but I think that would be fun. And of course, I'm sure when we're doing our live streaming of the Sensibly Speaking podcast, we'll probably be taking questions from people as well. So maybe that would be redundant if I did both of those. So anyway, but the podcast is all set up. We're going to be doing that next Saturday, and I'll get notifications out on Twitter and Facebook and on the bunker and stuff as to what time that will be. I will also be doing some videoing of the HowdyCon event. I think other people are set up to do some periscoping and stuff of the actual Saturday night event, but I will be around all weekend of HowdyCon with this camera and my equipment and stuff, maybe doing some interviews with people who want to be interviewed. I'm not going to put anybody on camera who doesn't want to be on camera, because I respect people's privacy at an event like HowdyCon. But I'm hoping to do a little video log of the event, do maybe a little bit of live streaming as well, and then put a video together for the following Thursday. So that's in the works as well for this next week. Let's see what else we got coming in on the comments here. Hey, Henderson, Nevada, UK. Hey, Andrea. Elaine from the UK. Yeah, I think HowdyCon's going to really be something. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. So let's see here. Do you think OSA is here with us? Yeah, I do. I think that they kind of keep an eye on my channel to some degree. And the reason I say that is because within almost minutes of posting any video that I post, I get a downvote, like right away. And I can't imagine why anybody would do that to like every one of my videos unless they were, sort of trolling me. And I don't know. I mean, it doesn't have to be OSA that would do that. But I kind of think that, they keep an eye on me and on my content. And in fact, just as a point, this podcast that I did this yesterday that I posted with Natalie Feinblatt, Dr. Natalie, she is like Rachel Bernstein, a cult recovery counselor and psychotherapist in Los Angeles, and great woman. And I did a podcast with her yesterday, and John Alex Wood, responded to my tweet about that by throwing up the Scientology hate page about me, which he's never done before. And so I thought, there must be something in that podcast that must have set him off somehow. Maybe not, but he's never done that before. So anyway, check out that podcast. It's a good one, and Natalie definitely knows what she's talking about. All right, let's see what we got here. Poor Scientology, getting worldwide knowledge reports. That's right. All right, so do you have any questions for me? This is a Q&A show, so I'm glad y'all are here. And yes, magical live stream, magical sci-fi technology. No one really should be too freaked out, by the way, about posting here in terms of Scientology coming after them. They don't have the resources to go after every single person who asks me questions or posts on my YouTube channel. They're not that Orwellian in power. 1984 Big Brother sort of thing. OSA is, the entirety of the Office of Special Affairs International is probably, 30, 40 people. And not all of them, now it's a guess, maybe it's 50 people or something. I'm not really sure how many people work at OSA specifically, but I know it's not a huge organization. And in that organization are levels of knowledge, right? Not everybody is in on everything that OSA does. There are people who have worked at OSA who, for years, who have no idea that they hire private investigators, do stalking and harassment and stuff, because there are people in OSA who do PR work, for example, and they have a limited knowledge, right? It's very need to know within the Office of Special Affairs as to who gets to know what. So my point is that a very small number of people are the ones who are actually hiring private investigators, who are on the internet, who are in the know and in the loop about all the nefarious stuff that OSA gets up to. So the idea that they're going to go after people who are just commenting on YouTube is not very realistic. That's not really how it works. Okay, so feel free, in other words, to comment away and ask me whatever questions you want. Okay, let's see here. Did you ever have any Div 6 duties while in Scientology? That was my personnel hell. Yes, I did have to go out and do some body routing and book sales. I wasn't ever very good at it. I was always the guy complaining about having to go out and do that kind of stuff, because I didn't like talking to the raw public. And the reason I didn't wasn't because I didn't like people, but it was because I didn't know how to, and I was afraid of the ridicule that we would get. Because, a lot of people will come by and, utter these little comments, or, oh, science, L. Ron Hubbard, took out a bet and that's why he started Scientology and stuff. And I wouldn't have any real replies to these things or really have a lot to say back to that stuff. And I always felt really nervous about it, and I was easily, I was kind of timid when it came to going out and talking about it broadly to the, to the raw public. I think with all the experience I've had over the last few years doing what I'm doing now and the public speaking and stuff that I've done, I wouldn't have those same problems if I went back into the church and started doing it now. But my problem now, of course, would be that Scientology is, has to tell a lot of lies in order to get people to come in, and that was my problem when I was in that eventually got me out. So I did do some Div 6 work, but I didn't really enjoy it much. Let's see. Let's zoom out. I'm going to scroll up here and see what else we've got here. Trying not to miss anything. Did you ever spend time at the HGB? If so, what did you think of it? Yes, the Hollywood Guarantee Building in Hollywood, which is where the upper middle management of Scientology is. That's where OSA International is, and that's where the flag bureaus and the management for international Scientology is. And yes, I did do some training there. In fact, all the way back to the 90s when I was a Santa Barbara staff member, I went to the HGB a few times for the Key to Life and Life Orientation course export, right? I went and trained there, and then I went back for cramming and things a few times. In other words, went back there to do a few short little training actions. And then when I was in the Sea Org, I went over there a few times for some briefings and to, because I had my senior person who was giving me orders and directions when I was a management person in the West U.S., he worked over at the HGB, and so I would go over and see him a couple times and get briefings and stuff. Nice building, you know what I mean? Very sanitary, very sort of, what's the word for it? Too clean. I don't know. I'm not getting the word right now, but it was just sort of a place I was glad I didn't work. Because it seemed like they were just very uptight people and very, very cloistered kind of environment. Seemed like it would be hard to get out of the building if you work there to just take a walk around the block or just get out and do stuff. Maybe, I know they did that sometimes, but over in PAC where I worked at the big blue buildings, it was a lot easier to get outside, and it seemed more open over there. And of course, this is all within the environment of the Sea Org, which was, working in the basement 12 hours a day. So, kind of funny that I would say that PAC seemed more open than the HGB, but in the context of the Sea Org, it kind of did. Let's see. Stu P.S. From Chicago. How many people in the Sea Org are able to deal with being so overworked? Coffee, adapting, personal motivation, all of the above. You just keep yourself going. There's a lot of internal motivation that goes on at the musters. Remember that in the Sea Org, you muster in the morning, after lunch, after dinner, and sometimes at the end of the night, but not all the time. And a lot of the purpose of those musters, of getting all the staff together for each organization, it wasn't a base-wide muster. It'd be each organization would have their musters. So, I worked at the CLO for a long time, and they'd have their daily musters. And that was to account for everybody and do a roll call and make sure everybody was where they were supposed to be. But then there would also often be motivational sort of talks by the executives about, let's go, and these are the quotas, and we're going to make this happen, and we're clearing the planet, and we're saving the universe kind of talks, right? And that went on a lot. And it wasn't always being dressed down at musters, although that happened too. But it was more like the dressing down sort of stuff was the sort of thing that would happen individually. You take a person aside if they were, or you take them into a room or something and give them the what for. But you wouldn't want to do that in front of everybody unless things were really dire. And of course, things were dire often enough that happened often enough that it was, hated musters. But it was probably 80-20, in terms of like 80% of the time it was, pump you up. We're excited. We're so happy. We're going to do things. We're going to make things happen. We're the Sea Org. We're the baddest. We're the best. And that was kind of the message of the musters, to kind of motivate everybody and keep them going. And then on a personal level, you'd also talk with your fellow Sea Org members or read L. Ron Hubbard quotes. And Hubbard wrote a lot of motivational stuff about how great the Sea Org is and how awesome and amazing, everybody in Scientology is. Hubbard said that auditors, for example, are the upper 10th of the upper 20th of human beings, on planet Earth. And, he'd put a lot of oomph behind how important Scientology is and how important and awesome all individual Scientologists are, right? When we talk about Scientology being a sort of a narcissistic sort of group, this is how it develops that narcissism, is there's a lot of individual or attention on how great people are individually. So that's kind of a thing. So I hope that answers that question. So let's see here. Gemma pretends she doesn't know what OSA is. All right, let's go down a little bit here. What do you think of the bar owner in Clearwater? John Robertson here. What do you think of the bar owner in Clearwater finding a camera on his Scientologist lawn pointing at his driveway? I think that is standard OSA tactics, and I am not surprised at all. He's spoken out about, Scientology in Clearwater. That is where David Miscavige has almost all of his attention right now. Based on, what we're seeing in the news, at least, there's a lot of attention on Clearwater. And anyone in that community who is going against what Scientology wants is definitely going to be experiencing the sharp end of Scientology's attention. So the fact that they are keeping an eye on him covertly, right? Like they put a camera there, a hidden camera, so they weren't planning on him finding that. They're not doing a particularly noisy, what they call a noisy investigation of him. They're doing covert operations against him. So they want to know who he's talking to. They want to know what SPs is he connected with, so they can, figure out how to deal with him and get him to stop being against their efforts there, because they hate that. They hate that kind of thing. All right. All right, let's go down a little bit here. While you were there, Marcy is asking, while you were there, did you see any kid under 12 doing the EPF? Okay, let me think about that, actually. Did I ever see anyone under 12? I believe that the youngest person I saw doing the EPF was 12 or 13. And I think, if I remember how things were going in PAC, and this is just kind of dim recall here, but if I remember my time in the Sea Org properly, people under 12 or around that age, under 11 or under 10 or something, were considered cadets and couldn't be official Sea Org members. So they were in the cadet org, and they were taken care of by the nannies, and they were done, schooling, was done a certain number of hours a day. And this changed over time. Right? When I first came in the Sea Org in '95, the cadet org was not as well organized as it became, and the schooling was not anywhere near as well organized as it got in the 2000s, when I think there was some legal, trouble, and Jenna Hill Miscavige came out, and other people came out as to, how horrible and awful the Sea Org was treating kids through the 80s and 90s, and so they responded by trying to enact measures to treat the kids a little better and give them some schooling. So I think 12 is the youngest I ever saw anybody on the Sea Org, from what I can remember. Let's see here. When will you do the video on the e-meter? Okay, it's going to be part of this series of videos that I'm doing on the basics of Scientology. It'll probably be one of the later ones in that series, because I've got a little bit more research to do. I'm actually still writing the script. It's well along. Just so you guys know, this e-meter thing has been sort of the albatross around my neck, because I talked about it a year and a half ago, and I didn't think it was going to take anywhere near this amount of time. Most of the script is written. There are just a couple points that I really want to get right, and I want to be irrefutable about them in terms of the electronics of what the meter is measuring in the body. Like we know it measures changes in density in the body and changes in resistance from the moisture in the skin and that sort of thing. But I want to be really precise about a couple things. And there are certain meter responses that occur. And I've done a lot of surveying and a lot of research with former Scientologists on some of these meter responses. And I want to nail down why those responses occur on an e-meter, because I know it's not for the reasons that Hubbard said, but I'd like to figure out what they are. And that way, when I present this information all in one go, it's sort of like, okay, I really get it, it really all makes sense, and it's sort of the end of any questions about this device and the pseudoscience of it, right? It's easy to talk about the pseudoscience in terms of, you know, getting people to believe that this meter is doing one thing when it's really doing something else. That's all figured out. I got all that written. But it's just getting these fine points down that I want to nail totally, and that's why it's taking a while. So anyway, that's my excuse. It's probably as lame as it is for why that thing is not done yet. Okay, let's see here. Let's go back up here. Goodfella is saying, please answer me, it's important. How do we find out if someone is a Scientologist, if she is hiding that fact? You know, work undercover for OSA or something. Well, I don't know. It depends on how good they are. If somebody is, if there's a, okay, let's see. Scientologists sometimes do sub rosa investigations, in other words, undercover work. But more often than not, they hire private investigators for that kind of thing. And the private investigators are not Scientologists most of the time. They do that so that they'll have plausible deniability and layers of protection. It didn't used to be that way, but I mean, it used to be that they just exclusively use Scientologists. But they learned the hard way that when Scientologists leave the church, they turn on them. And you know, you'll get a lot more loyalty from people when you pay them exorbitant amounts of money. Scientologist loyalty, you know, is only as good as the person believes in L. Ron Hubbard and believes in Scientology. And as Mark Headley has said, the end result of Scientology is always a person leaving Scientology. So the Office of Special Affairs and the nefarious deeds guys tend to not be Scientologists these days. But to answer your question directly now, to get back to, okay, well, how would you know if somebody's a Scientologist without them saying they're a Scientologist? Probably your best indicator of it is going to be the language that they use, because it just kind of comes out. But that, you know, it's a little bit hard to give you a simple answer to it because the language is quite extensive in Scientology. So, you know, key words, let me think here, like what sort of key words would you find, integrity, they use the word integrity in odd ways. If they use these Scientology nouns, I'm a little out of focus. I hope that comes back in focus here before too long. I'm in focus on one screen and out of focus on YouTube, so I'm hoping that that resolves itself. Some of the nouns that Scientology uses, knowingness, right? As they throw the NESS on the end of a lot of words, and you'll get that sort of knowingness. That's one that comes to mind right away. Let's see. Also, of course, they'll stare at you. You know, they'll give you the TR0 stare. They'll make sure to make eye contact with you, you know, this kind of thing, because that's, in Scientology, that's part of the communication training. I think the language is probably the biggest giveaway as to whether you're talking to a Scientologist or not, but I'll have to think about that a little bit and maybe answer that in another Q&A where I have more time to sort of think about what the language would be that they might use. So let's see here. Yes, havingness, there we go. In turbulation, they might let that one slip. That might be one, but havingness, knowingness, they just love NESS, you know. They'll even make ones up, persistingness, you know. You got to persist, that kind of thing. Let's see. How do online Scientologists get away with so much interaction with critics and SPs? There aren't that many online Scientologists who interact with critics and SPs. The ones that I've noted who come on my channel actually tend to be independent Scientologists, more so than existing church members. Because existing church members, I mean, make no mistake, they get in a lot of trouble for coming onto channels like mine. And even if they're trying to stir up trouble or trying to refute what I'm saying, the church takes a very dim view of anyone connected to somebody like me or, Aaron or Tony or any of us. So Scientologists in good standing with the church are not going to be authorized to come to my channel and start commenting. Unless there's somebody like John Alex Wood who is specifically authorized to be interacting online with SPs. And that's a very small number of people. They will again hire private investigators or trollers or people who are not Scientologists to come around and troll on ex-Scientologist channels. Or there's one or two people at OSA International, or a couple people, like Tori has mentioned a guy that she used to know and work with who was authorized, Steve something I think his name was, who was authorized to be trolling around on the internet and getting into fights with ex-Scientologists in order to disrupt their activities. That kind of activity is one guy who might have 10 sock accounts, and so it looks like more people than it really is, and so that's kind of how that sort of work is done, as I understand it. Let's see here. We've got 112 people watching now. That's pretty cool. Oh, it's a good question. Lars Rosenquist is asking, if Scientology's tax exemption gets revoked sometime in the future in the USA, will a lot of money-motivated Christian churches in the USA also get into danger of getting declared a fraud? I would say the answer to that question is yes. And I think that, in fact, that's one of the key motivations for why Scientology will get a lot of backup and support from other churches when it comes to the question of tax exemption. This is one of their protections for not losing their tax exemption, is they will rally other churches from other denominations, definitely Christian churches, especially in the United States, because there's more Christian churches than any other types of denominations in the U.S. They'll round up all those guys and say, look, if Scientology loses its tax exemption, you guys are next. And that's not an illogical line of reasoning. I don't support tax exemption for churches, very, very broadly. I think the test for tax exemption should be much stricter. And I think that there should be a public benefits test like there is in the UK, which is why Scientology has never gotten tax exemption in the UK. And I think the Charities Commission, and that's going on in Australia right now, is doing the right thing and pushing for transparency, financial transparency for these organizations. And I'm looking forward to, more work being done on that here in the U.S. But we got a long way to go, because the U.S., I mean, let's face it, and this is not a hit on anybody who has religious beliefs, but the U.S. is a little bit religion crazy, and structurally there are way more protections for churches to inflict abuses on their members, any churches, with legal protections under the First Amendment and financial protections under 501c3 tax exemption than there are in other countries. And I think other countries are kind of getting it a little more right than we are on this subject. I want people to have freedom of belief, and I want them to have the freedom to practice their religion. I'm not down on that. But I think that when these organizations are able to get away with the number of abuses that they are, something's wrong with that system, and we need to dig into that. Let's see here. Yes, Austin should be taxed. I agree. Yes. Him and his palatial estates. Okay. Audio off sync with the video. That might be. There is a delay. I am running this through some broadcast software in order to transmit. So it's very possible, and I'm also talking pretty fast because I'm trying to get as many answers in as I can in as short a period of time as I can. So it's possible that there is a delay. In fact, I would expect that there would be a little bit of a delay. And I'm anticipating that when I edit this, I will probably resync the audio and video tracks with my editing software so that when I post this later, it will be in sync. But yeah, that could be an issue. Okay, let's see here. BJ Price, if Scientology can't change LRH's rules of fair game, and we all know about it, how do they think it will still work? Well, okay, let's talk about the Scientology and the Sea Org mindset for a second. They truly believe in the Sea Organization that what they're doing is right. And they think that, and this is not hard to understand if you compare it to other groups, even non-extremist groups. I mean, anybody who's part of any group, Boy Scouts, a company that you work for, Boys and Girls Club. I mean, any group that people get part of, Republicans, Democrats, right? You immediately have a bias toward the group that you're part of or the groups that you're part of. And so you can sort of understand that the Sea Org has an intense bias towards Scientology and towards the Sea Org. They truly believe that what they are doing is the greatest good for the greatest number of people. And when you believe that, regardless of the cause that you're a part of or the effort or group that you're fighting for, if you truly believe that, then it is easy to justify anything, any kind of behavior, especially against people who you think are trying to take you down or are against your group or are trying to get in your way. And Hubbard made an analogy in 1967 to the idea that the Sea Organization is like the fire truck or the firemen who are racing to put out the big blaze, the big fire, right, that is engulfing planet Earth and destroying everybody here. There's this condition Scientologists believe exists where everyone on this planet is in really bad shape and is doomed to repeat this endless cycle of life after death after life after death. And they're trapped, and that Earth is a prison planet, and that Scientology is the only group that has the technology and the methods and means to undo this trap. So because they have that mindset, they're easily able to justify anything. Because if people like me, right, who used to be members and are now out and criticizing the church, or journalists and reporters, people who are, ragging on Scientology and lambasting it, making fun of it, those are the bad guys as far as they're concerned, right? We're the bad guys. We're the ones who are trying to stop them from saving the world and saving you, right? And saving me and saving themselves. So it's kind of the analogy has been made of the Matrix, right? They're a small little clique of people who are, bucking the system and fighting the Matrix. And so when you're in that mindset, fair game is totally justified. It's necessary. You have to take these people out because they are the ones who are trying to stop the fire truck from getting where it needs to go to put out the fire. So they happen to be, in this case with Scientology, dead wrong, but they don't know that, right? They've bought into a whole series of agreements that Hubbard laid out about how life works and how people work and how society works, and they go at it from that point of view. So that's why fair game, they don't see it as a problem, right? Their only problem is when they get caught breaking the law, they go, well, damn, WOGs and WOG law, and we got to work our way through this society. We have to fix a broken society that is fighting us from fixing it, right? That's their thinking. So that's why they feel totally comfortable doing what they do. And we are 10:35. We're coming along pretty far here. All right. Yep, there's that downvote. All right, let's see what we got here. Hey, Ruth. Oh, nice. We're half the CNC crew at the hub. You asked, we're here. Awesome. Okay, well, I think it's time that I get to another thing that I wanted to do this Q&A for. Okay, so guys, I want to thank you for coming. I am not done. I just want to thank you guys for showing up here, because I have done 113 of these Q&A episodes now, and in all of this time that I've been answering all these questions, I have never asked a question back, and I have a very important question today that I'm going to throw out. And I wanted to do it here with you guys because you guys are my hardcore supporters and my friends, and some of you are personal close friends of mine, I think, who are watching right now, and you're kind of my family here, you know, in Denver and all around the world, you know, as everybody who signed on when you guys first showed up here. So I'm kind of really nervous right now. So I'm just going to kind of do something here in front of everybody, and you guys get to watch. Melissa's my girlfriend, and hey, hi.
Hi.
So why don't we step back here a few steps? So you guys know Melissa because I've had her on a couple videos, and we're living together now in this apartment here in Denver. We moved in a couple months ago. We've been going out well over a year,
yeah,
right? And it's been pretty cool. We're going to be going to see your family later, you know, Father's Day and all that. So I totally, completely, and am madly in love with you. In the worst, best way possible. You are the most amazing and actually really wonderful thing that's in my life. And you have brought a lot of things back to me that I had lost because of Scientology and because of my experiences with all of that. And so I wanted to let kind of everybody know that you are, you know, the most important thing in my life. And I've been thinking a lot about that and about our relationship and how much you mean to me. And I was thinking that I would like to have you around for the rest of my life. And so I was sort of wondering, you know, if if you would marry me.
Of course. Yes.
Okay, well, good. I love you, sweetie.
I love you.
Okay, well, that went well. Yeah, come on over here. Okay, good. So, Well, okay, everybody. So that was my question for her. And wow. So yeah, we're gonna do this. Wow, we're really gonna do this. I love you so much.
Oh, I love you.
I've been thinking a lot about what I was going to say here, and you know, I guess well, I just everything I just said. You know, this has kind of been a full circle for me. You know, when I got out of Scientology and stuff, I lost everything, and I lost people who were very special to me, and now I've kind of got that back. And so I wanted to share that with everybody, and so anyway, thanks for coming around, guys. So I'm gonna wrap up the show and and then we're gonna have a great day. Oh my God. Okay, so yeah, okay, guys. Oh, hey, come here. They want to see the ring. There's the ring, guys. Can you see that? Yeah, it's a little out of focus. Maybe we can get that really close in there. Just keep staying focused on my face. I'll try to get a snapshot of it or something, guys. Sorry about that. Okay. Let's say you can't spend time with your wife. That's right. No, I will definitely be spending all my time with her. Okay, guys. So anyway, I wasn't sure how that was going to go, but yeah. Okay, cool. I hope that, thank you very much for all of your congratulations, guys. Okay, I'm going to get going. Thanks for coming around. You guys and your support really has meant everything to me. Really, in the hugest, most amazing way possible, you have helped me to make it to this day and make this all happen. So, thank you for everything you guys do out there. Okay, so I'm gonna end off the show now. Bye bye, everybody. I'll talk to you guys soon.